we can begin the discussion with our panelists. So as we ask the questions, feel free to chime in and add, your experiences and share your story with us. So with that being said, my first question for the panel is reflecting on your journey as an on-campus student employee at CSUN. Could you share a memorable story that influenced your decision to pursue your current career path?
Did we just go? Or
Yeah, yeah. Feel free
oh,
to,
okay, I can go
yeah.
first.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah. So many. I feel like, well, I always liked journalism and media and communications, and I was always very involved in politics and student government. So, after student body president, I wanted to have like a taste of what politics was. So I applied for the Capital Fellows program, which, if you are interested, can definitely point you into the right resources to apply. It's a very competitive program that takes 18 students every year for the assembly, the senate, or the executive branch. There's also a judicial branch. So there's four programs. So you work in the state capitol for about like 11 months, and you learn the ins and outs of like California legislature or an executive branch department. So I think like being student body president, being associated students, definitely influenced that decision of, really all the work that I was, aiming to do in the community of Northridge, and trying to maximize that for the state. And, knowing that change doesn't happen overnight, and that change happens uh, when people get inspired to take those leaps of faith, and being able to represent or work and bring the values that I learned at Seaside and the skill set and the leadership to Sacramento was really fundamental and really shaped like where I wanted to go from there. So I worked in the Capitol for 3 years, not only being a communications director, but also moving legislation and creating laws for California. So that was really exciting. And now I work for Equality California, which is the largest LGBTQ plus civil rights organization in in the nation, a statewide civil rights organization. So I am their public relations director, communications director, marketing director, basically spokesperson for the organization, and using the leadership skills that I gained from associated students, advocacy, and then my major, which is great, like a full circle moment of being able to use not only my extracurricular activities at Northridge at CSUN, but also what I went to school for, right? Like journalism, press, and then communications management. So that's it's been a really nice full circle moment.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing, George, how, important the aspect of community and the values that you learn through your leadership in associated students and how that inform the way, right, taking it to the state level and advocating for those policies and for those laws and the fellowship program. It sounds like a really great experience to, tap into the state level as well. And I agree, your story comes full circle to where you are today in the leadership roles as well. So thank you for sharing. Um, for other panelists, um, would you was there any moment during your student employee experience that, stood out to you um, and brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, I could share. It's actually it's a funny story. But back when I was a career peer educator, I was under Sherilyn Ashina, who's no longer with the Career Center. But I remember I kept telling her what I wanted to do, and she was like, "Yeah, you should be a social worker." I was like, "No, social workers, they take kids. Like, I don't want to be a social worker." And so I was so against it. And then sure enough, now I'm a social worker. But I think just like looking into it and really doing my research to know that you don't just have to work for DCFS as a social worker, but you could be a therapist, you could do policy, you could do community organizing, all of that. And so I think that's really, I think had I not done that research, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But shout out to Sherilyn for telling me what I didn't want to hear at the moment.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, there's from hearing from George and from you as well, you take your pathways within your industries in many different routes, right? There's not one way to pursue a career. There's multiple pathways, like you guys have shared. So thank you, Katie, for sharing. For Leo and Christina, did you all have a moment or maybe like a mentor that kind of guided you towards your path today?
I can go.
Maybe. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was a student assistant, and that meant I actually worked at NCOD, which is the National Center on Deafness. And my major was psychology, and I was very interested in mental health and the needs of the deaf community as it pertains to mental health. And there's a lack of access services in the mental health field for deaf people. So it was very concerning for me. But one moment that really impacted me was I was reaching out to students in all different states and different areas of the country. And I noticed how many wanted to actually come to college and were passionate about that, but they were language deprived, they struggled in school, they had a lack of access in school. And at that moment, it really kind of woke me up to say that I really need to do more advocacy for fellow deaf students. And obviously, clearly, I'm deaf, so I have that personal connection with them. And I also am part of the community, of course. So, and that wasn't the only reason. And also, there's a lot of misperceptions about language in our community and what actually access looks like for us. So not only my experience as a student assistant that really kind of lit that fire in me to really say, I want to advocate for my community and teach language. Because I feel like, the outreach part of my student assistant job was really connected me to, the entire world. So.
Thank you, Christina. It really stood out to me when you mentioned how advocacy looks different in for certain populations, for certain students, and when you experienced the outreaching for students and noticing that there's that interest and the desire, right, to go to college and pursue their studies and advance in their careers, right? Those equity gaps can often set students back from continuing their education, and that's where advocacy, how you mentioned, looks different in these ways. And it often through those struggles and the challenges, it inspires that passion. It really ignites, when it comes to doing that advocacy work as well. So I really appreciate you sharing that story as well. And Leo, I know you wanted to share as well. Feel free to go ahead.
For sure. Well, my undergrad was in math, and then I already knew that I was gonna go into the software engineering route because I was not happy with the academic route of my future, I guess. So I kind of wanted to go to more industry route. So, but my experience with CareerLink in managing the website and also my experience in going to Intersec LA doing UX research. With my background in math, I thought I was just going to follow this route that I already had planned in my mind to just go, data science, AI, machine learning, all that stuff. But then because of working with the CareerLink, I saw that working with the website, that it's not only about the information, but also how you present information and how you can design an experience for readers around that. And being in an Intersec LA, doing UX, UI, building the websites, and how it can look like, it kind of gave me the idea or the curiosity between the relationship of media and technology. And that's why I kind of end up being in the AR, VR space, because I'm very interested. It gave me kind of like, it opened my eyes when it comes to the relationship of media and technology and how I can be a part of that and shaping the human and computer interface. So that's kind of how I got here. So there's a lot of inspiration with the previous jobs for sure.
Thank you, Leo. Yeah, it's definitely kind of through one experience, it opens up the door to other, possibilities, other pathways, and that career link program assistant position was that initial, introduction, right, to where you are today. So I appreciate you all for kind of sharing that journey for us. And next, I'm going to pass it on over to my colleague Genesis to touch upon the next topic that we want to talk about.
Yeah, thank you, Isabel. Well, shout out. I first want to give a shout out to Leo because he's one of our first cohorts in the From Here to Career program. So I just want to let any of my From Here to Career students who are in the room today with us, hey, Leo was in your shoes about 2-3 years ago now. So know that, there is the things you're learning today help build a foundation for later down the road that you can continue to use. But shout out to Leo. Um, I think you all touched on such important topics of what I heard from the different various industries that you all are at. What I heard is that there's important touch points from, the Capital Fellows program to being a career peer educator to, being a career link student assistant to working out of NCOD. Those are all spaces that allowed you to either one, be curious and find new things, or connect with someone who pushed you a little bit further, be it your supervisor, be it a coworker, be it someone who you worked with in your fellowship. So I think a big thing that we talk about in many spaces, and I think students hear it and From Here to Career, but also maybe from their professors and different peers, is networking, right? And mentorship. I think we're all told you have to find a mentor, you should be connecting with people to find different opportunities, but not a lot is talked about is how to navigate that space and what does it look like. So my question to you all is how did how did networking and mentorship maybe influence your career development and where you are now? And if so, on that same topic, what tips or strategies do you want to give to students that in regards to networking? I know this is a big conversation, but does anyone want to start off with any tips that were helpful with them as they, navigated this?
I could share first.
Go for it.
So there were so many. I think just having the hub of so many counselors and especially career counselors was very helpful because it kind of let me know where to go. But I remember because I'm multiracial, I'm Black, white, and Mexican, and I remember coming across the statistic that 1 in 3 Black men and 1 in 6 Latino men are currently incarcerated in the state of California. Um, and I was like, yeah, I can't sleep at night knowing that that's not okay that my people are there. So I remember talking to Nyla about that. She directed me to um I remember I forget exactly what his name is, but she directed me to someone to kind of give me more insight, who was in charge of the Black male program on campus. And then he directed me to Jolene Swain at through the Masters of Social Work program. And so it was kind of like a dual process of understanding kind of that interest that I had, but also with social work. And so once I got into the office of social work, that's where I was just asking all these questions because I didn't know. I had such a limited view of what social work was. Yes, Dr. Ryan Mason. Um, that's who it is. Thank you, Nyla. And so um, so I think just once I got in there, I was just asking a whole bunch of questions about, what do you do? What do you do? And I found Jolene Swain is my mentor, my rock till this day. She gives me a lot of advice and guidance. I always call her like a mother figure, just about social work and the trends. I think also there's another professor, Dr. Jose Paez, incredible. He put me on to decolonization work. And so yeah, I think also a tip that I would have, like coming from a person who lives with anxiety and is naturally anxious around others, is just like the worst that could happen when reaching out to, someone who you're admiring in the career field is that they'll say no. That's the worst that could happen. Other than that, most likely they're gonna say yeah. And they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, let me answer this question real quick, or let's meet up or whatnot. So those are the tips that I have.
Yeah, that is such great insight, right? I mean, I want to highlight the aspect of you just had a question and you connected with someone, right? I think sometimes networking could feel like it could be transactional, it feels awkward, right? There's anxiety associated with it. Like we're all there, and as career counselor, we acknowledge it and we see it and we know those barriers are there, but really at the core of what networking it is, it's connecting with someone, right? And Katie, you were able to do that in form of like where you worked, right? And maybe with a safe space of counselors. You had the benefit of definitely working with a ton of career counselors, right? But asking that simple question like opened up a lot of other spaces and people you could connect with in terms of realizing, well, you know what, you have a passion. It started off with a passion for something that turned into in a career in social work, right? So it's great to see how that's kind of transformed. And yeah, shout out to Dr. Ryan Mason, who's currently the coordinator of the Black House. A lot of great programs that they run out of the Black House. If anyone's interested in engaging more, maybe all you know right now is that you really identify with like a specific population or you really want to help a specific population, use that and be curious to follow it further. But thank you for that, Katie. Anyone else want to talk about any other like tips with networking or share your story of someone who's impacted you?
Sure. Maybe I can go next.
Go for it.
Okay,
We'll go
cool.
Leo and then
Go for
George afterwards.
it.
Cool. Funny enough, my job after the career center and my current job now was because of the career center. So while I was working in the career center, I was working with another girl, Dyra. I believe she was also part of the Here to Career. She was working with Intersect LA, and she talked about this event with them, and they were in YouTube, like in the YouTube office here with Google, and I was like, why am I not doing that? So it kind of propelled me to like be interested in this kind of job, and that's how I got to Intersect LA. And then with my current job now was because of Anna Pinaranda. She used to work in the Career Center. She made this like AR project, and she did a lot of like media stuff with Career Center. So and I had good relationship with them. I connected with them. I got to know them. I didn't really like ask them to get a job. It's just because I connected with them, and because they knew me, they knew my reputation, and they were open to like opening up an opportunity for me. So that's kind of what helped me out. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And for the students who don't know, right, can you give like a brief overview of what Intersect LA is and what the role is here on campus?
For sure. The Intersect LA is kind of like a multidisciplinary design agency. So they create like videos, photography, posters, and any digital media that might be needed by a certain organization here in the campus or outside. So if you need a brand guideline, Intersect LA can make that for you. And this is ran by faculty and for students also. So everybody's working here are students. The new websites that you might see of the different departments, different colleges, we designed that. So yeah, it kind of works through a volunteer system. So kind of work here, you kind of volunteer for a little bit, and if you do good enough work, then they start paying you. And yeah, it kind of goes from there. So it's has opened a lot of opportunities and network for me. So I definitely recommend it if you guys are interested, in either UX, UI, web design, or graphic design, or just even project management, really. So yeah, Litzau, who was also part of the Here's a Career, also worked here. So yeah, it's another one.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Intersect LA is a great program on campus, and they do take volunteers.
Mhm.
And that way it's kind of a low commitment way to see what type of
Mhm.
work you're interested in and see if there's a niche that you could find and kind of start building your own pathway. But again, connection is that common theme that I'm seeing, and just like being authentic to who you are and just showing up to your work could often open up different doors for you. George, you wanted to share something?
Yeah, I just love how Intersect has grown to what it is now. Like, I just love hearing that. But actually, don't really share this as often. Usually people that know, and like associated students. But really, what like changed my whole perspective about networking and about like careers. When I was a student assistant, when I was an event producer for associated students, which was my first like on-campus job. I actually got fired after 6 months by the student body president that year. I was 19. I was like doing my own thing. I was there like, you're in a position of, in a way of power and things get to your head. And, I don't think I was making the best leadership decisions as an employee, as a student, right? So I think like that was a big wake up call for me to get fired from my job that I was working for so hard in my freshman year. But then the mentorship that came from there, like I had a grad student who now I think works for CSU Fullerton, Austin Yesias, David Crandall, who I know just recently passed away, but like people who really invested their time to be like, okay, well, you got fired, bro. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, like how are you gonna come back? And it was like feelings of hurt, as a student to be rejected. You got fired, right, by another student who was your peer. But I took that and then I started going into other avenues, which was like the University Student Union, while also making sure that I was working on myself and continuing to have those networking relationships with the associated students. And then literally like a year and a half later, end up being everyone's boss, as associated students president, which was a full 360 that everybody, like talks about of how, I got fired in the beginning stages to then being like the CEO of the organization. Um, but having those relationships and like being humble and being like learning your lesson, right? Like it's so important that if you do make a mistake, learn your lesson and like don't be standoffish to the people that are teaching you that lesson, because those are important relationships, those are important conversations that you maybe haven't had at home, that you haven't had at all in life, and those are like people trying to like help you out. And even in like my one-on-one check-ins with like University Student Union, I think Audrey Martinez was like a great example of a supervisor for me. And now I'm supervising like 4 people in my team at Equality California. And to this day, I use like techniques that she had in our one-on-one check-ins that I do for my staff to make sure they feel like heard and included. And I make sure like if there's issues, like I use what I like conversations I had with associated student mentors, right? So it's all like really a learning experience. And I think I tell people to always cherish those lessons. And especially when you meet someone, whether they have a big title or a small title, they're just like a random person, it's a lesson there. And just really quick, a story about NCOD. When I was student trustee, my office was at the NCOD building, which I had only a very small information about when I was student body president. But I networked around my office, talked to people. I know I saw Kevin there too a couple of times, an interpreter and other interpreters. But my long story short from that experience, my first bill that I got signed by Governor Newsom was actually a text to 911 bill. And it was for all of California to have text to 911 in all the rural areas, especially of California. And I had like the deaf community come and testify for the importance of this bill. And I used my NCOD connections to get people up here to Sacramento and just really understand more about that importance of emergency communications, right? So it's just like a full 360 experience of cherishing those networking conversations and also learning your lesson as a student when the lesson comes.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I know how one, for being vulnerable, right? Sharing that experience with us. Everyone in this Zoom room with about 40 participants, so thank you for sharing that. But I think it shows such a great lesson of adversity and what to do when faced with that adversity, and the two decisions that we have, right? Either succumbing to it or using that to understand how to get better. So definitely taking that to account, because not everyone's perfect, right? No one is perfect. We're human at the end of the day, at the core of who we are. And it's about understanding how to grow and having a growth mindset, which we talk a lot about at the Career Center, is taking where you currently are and growing from that. But I love how you also layered in your advocacy work with your past connections already and your community, right? So understanding that your connections that you're making is also part of your community and can be intertwined into the work that you're doing. So it's great to hear that awesome work you're doing and that bill that you were able to pass. It's really inspiring to see you all, that you were students here at one point, but now the work that you're doing is definitely impacting many communities. And I love that bit you added about your supervisor and learning from your supervisor. I want to say, like, I know we have a lot of student employees in the room right now. Learn from your supervisors. What did they do well that you want to take with you? Because one day you will be supervising folks too. So learn from that, but also learn what maybe you don't want to do as well. So start developing your leadership style in your role as a student assistant now. Christina, was there anything that you would want to add or kind of chime in about, like, networking and maybe what that looked like for you?
Yes. So I know we shared a lot of the sentiments with the people that have shared previously, a lot of the same shared experiences. For me, the key word was keep an open mind, an open heart also, because you feel like you can learn from each other, and maybe you might have differing views, maybe you disagree. But there's still learning opportunities there. So it's important to keep an open world, an open mind, and an open view. And being open, which means, to more acceptance of each other also, because of the coworkers also, and the professional system. I didn't know anything about computers or anything like that, but maybe the IT person could help develop a website for me, or like for develop an advocacy app or something like that. But there's just so many different areas of work, and creating those partnerships and the support networks.
Yeah.
And of course, I think also humility is very important as well. You've got so much coming up in your face. You make some mistakes along the way also, but it gives you growing opportunities. And when I began college, I didn't know exactly what to do, and I didn't care about my advisors. And, I had a big head that I could basically do everything myself. And there were so many different challenges. And I felt okay, but yeah, I needed support to help me figure out how to navigate this and how to network as well. How to balance work and life. And I think, again, it's really important to cherish the community and listen to diversity and diverse viewpoints. And again, you don't have to accept everybody's advice. You might disagree with them, but it's really important to be aware of each other and the varied experiences and the varied types of viewpoints that will help you grow as a person. So yeah, I think for myself, everybody has experienced, different work experiences, things that you haven't been able to do, and finding how you fit into the world and how you don't fit into the world. So, being open to different backgrounds and other people really helps to connect each other and so you understand better individuals. And the key word also, again, is keeping an open mindset. So yeah.
Yes, so many great things that you touched on, right? I love the aspect of open mind, open heart, humility. Those are all things that are really important. But what I heard is also the idea of there's power in collaboration, right? what you might not know, someone else might, and it's really leaning on your community to help you navigate those spaces. Like you said, it's hard to ask for help. I'm the first person to acknowledge, and I think back to me as a freshman as well. It's hard to ask for help, but there's these support services like the Career Center, your advising centers that their main goal is to support you all. They are called at the end of the day support services. So please use them and lean on them. And I just want to thank you all so much for giving so much insight and really demystifying what networking could be and mentorship and what that looked like for you as a student and what has evolved to now. Now, shifting gears a little bit, I think we want to talk a little bit more about your post-grad pathways, or pass it off to questions there. So I'm going to pass it off to Isabel to kind of see what's our next topic that we want to focus on.
Absolutely. So, for this next question, we would love to allow you all the space to share, any advice that you have for students that are considering pursuing a career in your field and industry. I know you all are coming from, different types of fields. And so, in terms of the preparation, right, to get to where you were today, what are some, pointers or tips or strategies that you would, share for students that might want to pursue your industry?
Maybe I can start.
I'll go.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Christina.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, all right. I think that I remember one person in Deaf Studies is here from Deaf Studies, and I noticed them in the chat. So I applaud you for being here. I think that it's important to specifically in Deaf Studies. Now, for example, my BA was in psychology, but it still applies to my work. But I think my primary work in the deaf world and the deaf studies world is that, again, it's important to remember that to learn about culture, keep an open mind in terms of our experiences. And really, the deaf world is quote unquote small, but at the same time, it's very, very big, meaning you can easily network within the community. You can network with me, reach out to me. So I think, really, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. I wish you luck on your journey, especially for those in deaf studies. And for those of you who are psychology majors, I hope you enjoy all of your classes. And again, don't be afraid. Keep an open mind. Reach out to different people. And psychology majors, that can apply to all kinds of different career paths. My focus as a family mentor and teaching, I can still incorporate the psychology because I'm accommodating and working with different people. So psychology is fun and it can apply to so many different lines of work. So I just wish you good luck again.
Thank you, Christina. I appreciated how you highlighted that your background in psychology, your background as being a family mentor, and working with parents and working with their children, and supporting, all of these important support systems, right, for deaf and hard of hearing children, um, is acknowledging how important culture is within the community. And, coming into this line of work and in this field, that piece, the cultural competency piece can't be, overlooked at all. It's integral to the community. It's integral to, working with families as well. And also what stood out to me was how you mentioned not being afraid, right? taking those risks, whether that be within reaching out for help or within, networking, and just leveraging the folks that within, potentially for the students in the room, their supervisors or their own coworkers and their fellow peers as well. So thank you for touching upon that as well. Um, any other panelists that
Can I
want?
add just one thing real quick
Absolutely.
that I just thought of? I'd like to add the importance of allowing yourself to change and grow. Like I said, at first I was like, I wasn't sure which major I wanted to even take. I mean, there were so many different options. So just allow yourself to also change your mind too. That's fine. And stay curious. Sometimes your bachelor's won't apply to your current work, but that's okay. You still learned a lot in that. And again, the key is just having an open mind and allowing yourself to also change your mind and grow. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a part of the exploration process, and it doesn't end when you graduate college. It continues, and if anything, once you graduate, you kind of rediscover and relearn what you want to do after. So thank you for touching on that. For the other panelists in the room, we'll have time for about we'll do around 2:55 for the questions here. But anyone else want to add there in terms of your industry? What are some tips or advice that you have for students interested in pursuing your field?
I could share. So kind of similar to Christina, I think it's very important to have an open mind. It's funny because I think when I was in grad school, we're taught so much. And then I think my first supervisor was like, "Yeah, you know nothing." And I was like, "What do you mean? I just graduated." And no, I don't. I know nothing. So it's really like um, I really have to learn from my students, learning from clients. I think right now I'm in my era, I guess, of like learning decolonization, right? So what was it before colonization, or what does that, how has colonization impacted? I think that really comes in as I'm doing trauma informed work with students. Another thing, because the school that I'm located at is in we call it the low bottoms, but it's in South Central Los Angeles, which is a predominantly Latino, predominant immigrants area, low income, multi-generational households, everything like that. It's very important to learn about those who are marginalized and disenfranchised, um, which that's my heart, right? That's my heart and soul right there. But for example, I had a student today who was coming to me to tell me, how hurt she was because she's seen her brother who's homeless while she was on the PE yard. And it's like, okay, that's that trauma informed work of just being able to respond to that and not, I think having that humility as well, similar to Christina, because if you were to have a viewpoint of, oh, well, I don't like homeless people, that could have impacted that relationship that I had with that student. So I think just really learning from other people, know that you don't know nothing. I'm sorry, but you don't know anything. You know a bunch of theories, but you really got to do the work yourself. And with that, you really have to do your own emotional work in order to help others. So you got to take off your rose-colored glasses to take off the world's rose-colored glasses. But yeah.
Thank you, Katie. Um, that was so impactful. Hearing your insights on once you're out in the field doing your job or working with clients, right? It's almost where you start um, learning from them, and it's no longer, just because we have a degree, right, doesn't mean that we know everything. And bringing it back down to the community, bringing it to the clients that we're seeing, to their stories, they become the experts, and we become the learners as well. And it's a part of the process in making sure that when we're working with people, when we're working with, you know, in the case of trauma-informed therapy, there's that culture piece that we see a lot when working with, you know, different communities as well that are impacted by these systems as well. So thank you for sharing. Um, so we're going to open it now up to questions from students to allow some time here for folks that want to ask our panelists you know, specific questions that they have, or if you want to learn, you know, a little bit more. Some of our panelists have, you know, attended grad school and gone through the, you know, the application phase and, you know, being a grad student and, you know, after that as well. So I wanted to open it up to students and see what kind of questions that we have for you guys. So we'll give you all about a minute there to fill it in, and then Cesar, I'll have you share out the questions that are trickling in.
There's one. Do you want me to start off?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So this one says from Ashani to everyone, what was the biggest challenge you faced after graduation?
I think like believing in yourself and what you've done. Like I feel like even with, you know, I was very fortunate and worked really hard to have like the resume in college and the experiences that I you know worked in, but like moving to Sacramento and removing my safety net, right? Like which is like the Valley and Northridge, and I was there for so long and did so much amazing work. Um, to coming to a place where no one knew me. They only knew me from the trustee stuff, like statewide, but it's still like it wasn't enough in the eyes of the capital or politics, right? So like starting over and like believing that you are meant to be in those halls of power, especially if you are underrepresented, if you are brown, black, Latino, you know, or a minority or gay, right? Like myself, like that is like walking through those halls and being like, I belong here and you can't get rid of me. That's important and that's powerful. And I think no one prepares you for that. No one prepares you for the microaggressions that you might encounter in those positions of power. But just remember that you came from a really badass school and you came from a really good safety net and a good foundation that like anywhere you go, like you have so much resilience already.
I love that answer. Like just remembering that you're from a really good school and standing in CSUN's values of what you're, you know, told every day in and out. I love that. And taking you with that with you in the workplace. I think, well, if Cesar, if you could read the next question and we'll have another panelist answer that question so we can get through as much questions as we can. But thank you, George.
Sure. So the next question says, what is some advice you have to stay motivated through grad school? Sorry, it says, what is some advice you have to stay motivated through grad school? Sorry.
I could answer that one. Honestly, you just gotta push through, which is so hard because my husband right now, he's finishing his bachelor's degree, and I'm like, that's traumatic, bro. Like seeing you submit papers, trauma. And so, but I think knowing, like for example, for me, my vision is bigger, right? I really want to change the world. And if not me, then who else? Given other people will change the world. But I think having that very large goal is what kind of keeps you grounded of like, okay, I really got to push through this because who else is going to take care of incarcerated people? Or who else is going to do this? Or who else is going to care if I don't? Um, but it's so hard. So you're doing great. I'm so sorry. You're almost there. It's really, really hard. I would be crying, but you got this.
So the next question is, for anyone, when networking constantly, how have you decided to pursue a networking connection or when not to?
Maybe I can take that one. It's understanding where you want to go. And in that place where you want to go, there will be people already. You want to ask questions maybe through LinkedIn, have coffee chats, or people who are you just respect, and just network with them, pick their minds, and understand that normally the principles to success are all similar to all throughout all fields, you know? And when not to, I guess, you have to start with authenticity and curiosity when trying to network with somebody. It's not about like, hey, I want a job, or hey, I want this thing. Like, you want to ask them what they do day to day. Is this the right thing for me? And things that can be more helpful for you rather than give you something, right? So it's always about starting with authenticity and curiosity. And whatever person that you might want to network with, just go ahead. Just ask them, ask for a coffee chat, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. The category for not to network is just you losing, because, you know, as I think it was Kadi who mentioned it, that the worst thing they could say is no. And if they say no, then just move on to the next one, right? So at least that's how I view it.
Thank you, Leo. I appreciate all of you, sharing your insights and your perspectives to our questions. And so for those students that, are putting questions in the chat, we won't be able to get through all of them. But for the panelists, feel free to drop in the chat if you would like to share, your contact information or a LinkedIn page where students can connect with you after the event. That would be appreciated. But, for this time, I'm going to have Cesar drop in the chat our feedback survey for the students in the room to share, their insights and what they've learned for today. And I want to just thank all the panelists and everyone here that have joined us. There's a lot of great discussions here and reminders about the importance of being, grounded and understanding, where you come from and how that can help you for your future, and leaning on that support system in your network to help guide you through potential references or networking, and how life is a lifelong, if it's a lifelong journey where we're continuously learning and unlearning as well. So, a lot of great discussions that I'm even taking myself. So thank you all. Thank you to George, to Kadi, Christina, Leo, Kat, and Kevin for being here today, and my team. And that concludes National Student Employment Week. Thank you all for being here. And I hope to see you guys in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Yes,
so
thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.